When it came to COVID, read the room. When it came to unemployment rates skyrocketing, read the room. When it came to Black Lives Matter, read the room. What is up, guys? It's Sophie. It is currently New Year's Eve. I am filming this video like kind of a week late. I wanted to get this up before New Year's Eve. If I can edit and upload this in one day, we'll be set. But I think that everybody needs to sit down and recap on 2020. I spent a lot of time reflecting on this year. Obviously, of course, just from my perspective. I think that we can all agree that 2020 has significantly affected us in one way or another, and I want to talk about it. Before we start, comment down below the most memorable moment of 2020 for you. Okay, let's get into it. So recently, a journalist from Mashable reached out to me and wanted to interview me on how the word performative has become such a big call out in 2020 and such this, widely used word. And I can link the interview if you guys want to read it down below. It actually just came out today. My agent just texted me like right now. So basically, doing this interview made me think back on what a fucking year this has been for Black folks. And when I say what a year, that wasn't a positive what a year. That was like a very tragic and grief-filled what a year. A few days ago, I found out that CNN labeled the events that happened this year in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement as a cultural moment. Not them calling police brutality a cultural moment, like Black people have not been experiencing brutality for 4 centuries now.
That's quite a long fucking moment.
2020 was a big year for Black people globally. There was a lot of civil unrest and police brutality, obviously, and the regular schmegular racism, but it just hit harder because of the election, Black people in this country went through what was essentially a civil war with law enforcement. But something that comes to mind is how in history books, they're gonna write about 2020 as such a significant year for the Black Lives Matter movement and how the movement was at an all-time high and there was so much police brutality, but nothing actually changed in regards to the killings of Black people. George Floyd's death, as unfortunate as it is, was so well known that it sparked this, huge change this summer, but nothing actually changed in regards to Black people being killed in general. There were Black people being killed in 2016 by the police, but Twitter looks back on 2016 as like the best year ever. Nothing has actually changed, and everything that really happened with the whole entire Black Lives Matter movement this year was, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, kind of was a moment, but it wasn't our brutalization being a moment, it was really just people caring being a moment. Hopefully that made sense. So what can we take away from race relations in 2020? That in the eyes of white liberalism, allyship towards Black people will really just be a cultural moment. It is hard to see and actively care about things that have no effect on you whatsoever. But I feel like people should really make that a habit in 2021. Black lives are really only widely spoken about the 1 or 2 months after a death goes viral. And that's kind of just the reality of it, unfortunately. I'll still continue to talk about race though. I'll never shut the fuck up about that. Obviously, I cannot do a 2020 recap without talking about the coronavirus. All I really have to say about what we can take away from this virus is that COVID and the effects that it's had on this country are really just a literal mirrored reflection of how flawed, racist, and dishonest not only Trump, but the entire government is. Calling COVID-19 the Chinese virus, other than like being just completely racist, is also not true anymore.
A carefree scene in post-pandemic Wuhan. This was the last night of a summer festival, which went ahead after the city was declared virus-free.
Well, the CDC came out with a statement which really did reflect the reality that, in fact, if you look at the people who've died of COVID disease.
At this point, bitch, we should really be calling it the American virus or the UK virus, because they're struggling over there too. I feel like there were two completely opposite polarized sides of COVID. The 1% billionaires, the rich and famous, whose literal only real issues were having to FaceTime their other 1% billionaire friends instead of seeing them in person. And then what's practically the 99%, which is the working class and family-owned small businesses. And then there were people who had no health insurance, and if, you know, them or their families got COVID, they were fucked. I definitely would consider myself in a significantly more privileged position than most people were in. I fortunately had never gotten COVID, and nobody in my immediate family who I lived with had gotten it either. All I really did in regards to COVID was just like educate others around me, wear a mask, stay inside, you know the drill. And I was also in school at that point too, so like my main focus during the first wave was just studying. When I was like writing the notes out for this video, I was thinking about these two polarized sides of the people who think that $600 is a lot to the working class, who are in this like privileged bubble and like can't see anything around them. It really did remind me of the movie Parasite. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should. I want to talk a little bit about celebrity culture. This year kind of made me hate celebrities. There will always be such a prominent disconnect between celebrities and the rest of us. And I feel like a lot of celebrities really fucking forget that. And this year, in regards to celebrity culture, was just like one big read the room. When it came to COVID, read the room. When it came to unemployment rates skyrocketing, read the room. When it came to Black Lives Matter, read the room.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Every blatant injustice, no matter how big or small.
Every time I remained silent.
Every time I explained away police brutality or turned a blind eye.
Sometimes like their take on global issues that are affecting all of us so much more significantly, it almost makes their takes feel like mockery in a sense. Whether or not that's even the intention, if you know that you're in a position of such wealth and power, you really just need to know when to shut the fuck up sometimes. And just when to not take up space and not take up room. Because the 1% already takes up so much of that shit, like every single day. So yeah, 2020 made me care about celebrities a lot less. And if there's one thing that I took away from celebrity culture in 2020, it's that people will really go to lengths to justify their bullshit. And it's just funny to watch sometimes. And I think we all just had a lot of time to watch that this year. Next, I want to talk about the election. This was my first presidential election and it felt really good to participate in. Bitch, we won. Biden's gonna be in office. Trump lost his job. F him. All Trump supporters. Anyways, this election was a fucking joke. Or let me rephrase. It was not a joke, but it was quickly turned into one.
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure.
You graduated last in your class, not first in your class. But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
While there are multiple cons to incorporating politics into social media culture, 2020 was the biggest election for young people. I genuinely believe that we really rocked that fucking vote. Like, we really did that. And while a lot of us didn't get the presidential choice that we actually wanted, and we were essentially settling for Biden, he definitely was not my first choice. I think the bigger picture is that it was just really cool to see what young people can accomplish, and to see 18, 19-year-olds leading political movements, leading social movements, leading social political revolution. That's what they're doing. That's what we're doing. And it's just so cool to see how big of an influence that we have when we fucking come together. As cliche as that sounds, it's true. I think another big thing that kind of solidified for me this election, and something that I personally took away, is that politics is personal. You can argue to the death that your politics and who you put on your ballot should not define your friendships or relationships, but it does. And it's like, you can say as much as you want that believing that politics isn't personal is polarizing us even more, but it's like, number one, bitch, the leader of this country's outwardly and blatant hatred and disdain for the Democratic Party was polarizing enough for the past 4 years. So luckily for me, I didn't have to unfriend anybody this election because all my bitches know what's up. Like, I didn't have to cut off anyone. I had to unfollow a few people for just like not speaking up, but I did not have to cut anybody off because like everybody in my circle knows what the fuck is up. So yeah. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on for this video was kind of this emphasis on personal growth and mental health this year. This year, obviously, COVID has significantly affected all of our lives in one way or another. Some, of course, more than others, but it was a global change. And I remember like in the beginning, it was very panicky. Nobody knew what was going on. Like people were buying toilet paper in bulk and like, what the fuck is happening? Then it was hustle culture was so strong. And the whole like flip your $600 stimulus, like I can't. I saw a tweet today that was like how to flip your $600 stimulus. And one of the bullet points was to post 3 to 5 times consistently a day and you'll make double. I had to read that 3 times to make sure that I wasn't having a stroke. It was like you have to be doing something with your time and making money like literally every single second of every single day. If you're in quarantine and you don't have like a 401k yet, what the fuck are you doing? Like it was a lot. And then I think that we kind of shifted that whole view into a more people are dying, people are losing their jobs. This should be a time of reflection instead of a time of let me work myself to the death while we're also in the middle of a pandemic. For me personally, something that I took away from this year was a shit ton of reflection. Reflection emotionally, academically, professionally, so much reflection on myself and what I want to change, what I want to work on. So yeah, I feel like while there was also a lot of grief and tragedy in 2020, there was also room for growth. That was my take. That was my 2020 at least. So I'm gonna end the video here. I've been filming for a very, very long time. If you like this video or if it resonated with you at all, please give it a thumbs up. Also, comment down below what you're doing for New Year's. Hopefully it's staying inside. I hope you guys have a wonderful and safe and healthy New Year's. Tell your friends and family that you love them. Hug your pets, drink water, take care of yourself. And yeah, I will see you in 2021. Oh my God, this is the last video of the year. Wow, okay, bye.